just a cigarette, and it cannot be that bad.
Honey, don't you love me? And you know it makes me sad.
It's just a cigarette, like you always used to do.
I was different then. I don't need them to be cool.
Hello, my fellow concerned friends, and welcome back to another video. And if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you for clicking on my video. And I hope that you can find some sort of community and support here, because that is the whole goal of my page, is talking about current events and things that we are seeing happening now. And I like to relate them back to my childhood and my experiences, because I had many adverse childhood experiences. I check off about a 9 out of 10 on the ACE score. And this is what I've decided to do with that 90% grade. And if you haven't yet, I'm going to go ahead and ask that you please go ahead and subscribe. It really will help out my channel a whole lot. That's like the best thing that you can do to support me and help to see this channel grow, so that I can make more content and better content, maybe even more longer form content for you guys. Because lately YouTube has been suppressing my videos. They don't think that they're very suitable because of the kind of topics that I talk about, which on one hand I understand, but on the other hand it's like super frustrating, because I try to censor things as much as I possibly can and make them as like listener friendly as possible, but also the subjects that I'm talking about need to be addressed and they need to be talked about. So sometimes it gets pretty discouraging when I feel like I put a lot of work and time into a video and it doesn't reach as many people because YouTube doesn't allow it to. So subscribing, liking, and commenting really tells YouTube like, hey, this isn't bad content. This actually is content that does need to be seen and should be shared. So I would really appreciate it if you helped me out with that. That would mean the world to me. Today, we are going to be looking at the dad and daughter dream team, specifically this YouTube interview. I have wanted to talk about this family for a very, very long time, as like one of the very first videos I saw of theirs was when the dad proposed to his daughter with a purity ring. And I say proposed because that was quite literally the entire intentions for the way that he presented this purity ring to her. And we will discuss that later, because within this interview, they do talk about that. And here is that video.
Okay guys, we got something special for you, so please don't go anywhere. Stop scrolling, alright? So, I am about to give Sarah a purity ring, but I'm going to do it in a very special way. I am actually going to make it look like a marriage proposal. Now don't get the wrong idea, it's not a marriage proposal. Okay, this is just... I'm very grateful that she has remained pure to this point and is continuing to remain pure, and I want to give this to her as a sign that I'm proud of her. There it is. She's gonna love it. Okay, so let's go get Sarah. Okay. Sarah, I need you to get up, honey. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. Just trying to read the book.
Yes?
What are you doing?
You're about to find out.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, listen. First of all, okay, you're 20 years old. Okay. And most kids your age are not pure. They're not really pure.
Sad but true.
Well, I want to thank you for remaining pure. Okay? And I want to give you something.
What?
I want to give you something.
Okay.
Okay? So, Sarah.
Yeah. What are you doing? What? What is this?
Sarah, will you wear this ring as a sign and a promise to God and to me to remain pure until the day you're married?
Yes. That is gorgeous.
Give me your left hand. Okay. This ring will remain on your left ring finger until the day your husband puts another ring there in its place, as a sign that you will remain pure.
Nice.
I love you.
I love you too.
Sweet girl.
I like it.
If you didn't know this, I myself, as well as my husband, are both ex-evangelicals. We used to be independent fundamental Baptists. So the concept of a purity ring to me has always been like kind of foreign because I didn't grow up in the church. I was indoctrinated into the church through foster care. But even now, as an adult and somebody who believes that women and anybody in general should be able to do whatever they want with their own sexuality, and it's not really anybody else's like business or say so. The concept of a purity ring to me isn't like a bad thing as long as, you know, the person is at an age where they can understand and conceptualize what exactly that signifies and what exactly that means to them. And it's something that they themselves have made a choice in doing, and they themselves have like sought out after it, and it's something that they want, like something that they want. And I don't feel like proposing to your kid is like normal, but we're going to get into all of that later. Okay. But that's the very first video that I saw. And those are like my first initial reactions is like, okay, like if she's an adult and this is what she wants, that's fine. But like the way that this was done and then everything that I have seen after that has made me so genuinely concerned about the family dynamic. So with all of that being said, I took notes and I have timestamped everything that I want to talk about, and it might be a long one. So probably sit down with a good snack, maybe even a meal. I don't know, but this is probably going to be one of my longer videos. I'm hoping not, because I really suck at editing. So let's just hope I can make this as short and sweet and possible. And when I'm editing, there's not like multitudes of blank long spaces where I've lost my train of thought and I have to go back and figure that out. But I think I took pretty good notes. So let's get into this and see how this goes. Oh, but also before we get into this, we are going to be talking about probably some pretty triggering topics, religion, religious trauma. I myself am going to be sharing some of my personal experiences. And if you guys know anything about me, I have religious trauma. I have trauma from child sexual abuse. So this may be potentially a pretty triggering video. And I also just want to say that my opinions on this family are just that, my opinions. Nothing that I state will I state as a fact. Like, I think this is absolutely going on and I think this has happened. I am simply just going to be sharing my opinions and my perspectives on what I am seeing based on my own personal experiences. So please don't take what I say as factual. Everything that I'm about to say is alleged, and what is factual is what they have said and their story. In a legal sense, that is what is factual. But I am going to be sharing my opinions on what they say. But I just wanted to get that out there. This may be triggering, and I am not accusing anybody of any sort of behavior. Okay, let's start. So for about the first 10 minutes of this interview, we're getting a background on the dad and the daughter, or we'll call them Sarah and P. And the things that I wanted to point out on their personal background is Sarah was homeschooled, and dad was raised a Christian, but he grew up Baptist. And they kind of identify as like non-denominational, but definitely fundamental. Not like a super hyper fundy, if this language makes sense to you, but fundamental with, like, I guess you could say like liberal tendencies. And Sarah goes on to say that she was saved at 8 years old. Now here is where I'm going to possibly trigger my religious audience. My goal is not to offend anybody. Like, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I am genuinely just sharing my personal opinion. So what is being saved? I'm sure a lot of people who like didn't grow up in the church or have like never really been involved in religion, like you've probably like heard that word be thrown around, like getting saved or like, are you saved? You've probably been asked a million times if you're saved and if you want to be saved. And what the heck does that even mean? I'm about to go back and pull out my evangelical handbook for you guys. Literally, I graduated from a Christian high school, a private Christian school. And I also went to college for 3 years at Pensacola Christian College. So my major was Bible and also speech and performance. Yeah, so that to say, I think PCC oddly really well prepared me for this exact moment. And here we go. What does it mean to be saved? And now I'm going to come at this from the Baptist point of view, the independent fundamental Baptist point of view, but I think that it's really important that I mention, and this is just like where things like get crazy. So like religion is just so crazy sometimes. Not all Baptists believe that salvation, being saved, is the same like across the board. Like there are Baptists who believe that in order to truly be saved, in order to basically have your ticket to heaven, because that's what salvation is basically your one-way ticket to heaven. Some Baptists believe that not only do you have to get saved, which is something I'll talk about in a minute, but in addition with being saved, you also have to be baptized in order to be like fully saved. And then there's also other Baptists, for example, Free Will Baptists, I believe, who believe you can be saved, but you can actually lose your salvation. Like if you sin enough or do like a sin, you have to like get saved over and over again. So even just like within the Baptist denomination itself, there's like multiple different versions of how to be saved. So branch that off into, you know, like Catholicism and then like Orthodox religions, and it just gets so muggy and confusing. So just know that when I'm talking about getting saved, it's from my lens, my perspective as a former independent fundamental Baptist. And I also am going to bet on the fact that probably when they're referring to being saved, it's going to be very similar to what I'm about to say, simply because Dad's background was a Baptist background, and then they do pretty much hold to like pretty fundamental beliefs. So what being saved essentially means, and there's a million different ways people will tell you how to be saved. So how ironic if I'm about to say this and somebody converts to Christianity after what I'm about to say. Oh my goodness. So being saved is basically when you get to a point in your life where you fully believe that, yes, I am a sinner. I believe it when God says that I am a sinner, even if the only sin I've committed is a lie, or if the only sin I've committed is even looking at somebody in a sexual way. I believe that I am a sinner, and in me believing that, I actually agree with and hold the belief that I actually do deserve to go to hell for punishment. That is a belief that I genuinely, wholeheartedly, and truly believe that my sin is a sin, and sin is so severe that that means I deserve to be punished for all eternity in hell. You have to believe that. And then you also have to believe that Jesus Christ is real, that Jesus Christ is God, and that Jesus Christ was born of a virgin, came to this earth, did his ministry on earth, and then was crucified, buried, and that he did in fact rise again on his own, not because he was like passed out for 3 days, not because of anything, whatever, but simply because he himself is God. And in him being God, he was able to rise himself from the dead, thus defeating death and hell forever, and then ascended into heaven. And in him doing that, by defeating death and hell forever, that is our salvation. So if we believe in that, after we recognize and believe that we are sinners deserving in hell, if we believe in that Jesus, we believe in Jesus Christ and that he came to this earth to die for our sins, defeat death and hell forever, all we have to do is call on him and ask to be saved. That is all you have to do, is just call on him in a prayer. It could be out loud, it could be in your head, and say, God, I believe I'm a sinner. I know that I deserve hell. And I also believe that you sent your son and blah, blah, blah. And I would like to be saved now. Bam, you're saved. Okay, so that's what salvation is. So here is my problem with salvation. Okay. Teaching it to children. She says that she was saved at 8, which means at just 8 years old, she has been taught extensively, I would imagine, about death and hell. And I don't think that it's a problem at all to teach your children about death, as death is something that is natural and it happens all the time. Death doesn't care about age. Death doesn't care about anything. It is something that anybody can experience. And I do think that it's important that we talk about grief and death and things like that with our children in an age appropriate and non-terrifying way. But teaching your children to almost fear death, not almost, but teaching your children to fear death, because after death comes hell, and then talking about hell with them. And as an ex-evangelical, I sat in those rooms, and I know how those conversations go. So don't you Christians be gaslighting me in the comments talking about,
We don't teach kids like that.
yes, you do. You literally have to. You can't teach about heaven without teaching about hell. That's literally like part of the doctrine. And now I know other people are going to be like, oh, well, you're an ex-evangelical, so you're misinterpreting it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. Well, I guess it was quite literally just my churches, and it was just Pensacola Christian College, and no one else believes these things. Come on. Anyway, but teaching these things to children, in my experience with the church, being a teenager through the church, and then, being like a camp counselor, and then going to a Christian college and working their camps there, and being like very much so in the spiritual realm of like the spiritual people of like evangelizing. I like know how these things work, and I know that I even have notes. Like I probably could pull them up if I downloaded the right app that I was using in college to take my notes. I think it was called Evernote. I don't know. But I literally have notes from an evangelism and discipleship class that I took with Dr. Thompson at PCC. So y'all can fact check me on that. Okay. And I remember in that class, which if you don't know what evangelism and discipleship is, evangelism is basically trying to go out and convert people to Christianity. And then discipleship is once they're converted, basically not brainwashing them. Not that. Just teaching them what the Bible says is right and wrong, right? So I remember in this class, we were talking about like the evangelism side. And I remember him saying something to the effect of, honestly, the most important people that we need to be targeting to evangelize, to convert, are the children, because the younger they are, the more malleable and susceptible they are, the more their heart is open, is like how they would put it, the more easily groomable they are. Okay. That's why it works, because children, oh my goodness, it's not because their hearts are just open and they're so pure and close to God already. It's because they're easy to groom, because they're children who believe adults that seem trustworthy. Surprise! But that's what we were told. And that wasn't to say not to go after adults. Definitely go after adults. But when it came to adults, there was like a tier of it. It's like adults that came from privilege and seemed to be well off, specifically white people and things like that. They're probably going to be harder to evangelize. Go after, the minorities. Go after the people who've come from trauma. Go after the underprivileged. That, when it comes to adults, is who you need to go after the most, because they're broken and lost and in need of guidance and saving. And it is so beyond predatory. Okay, so that's my biggest issue, is like you are literally preying on children to terrify them into conversion. I can't tell you how many friends that I have met, like within that Christian circle that I was in, including my husband who grew up in it, who could tell me stories about how they would lay awake late at night as young children, literally terrified about possibly going to hell and wondering, am I really saved? I want to be saved, but I don't fully understand how to be saved. I don't even fully understand what it means to be a sinner, but I do know what pain feels like, and I do know what fear feels like. And now you've got these kids developing anxiety and depression and low self-esteem for quite literally no damn reason. For no reason. Like, why are we doing this to our kids? So I got off on a tangent, but yeah, she was saved at 8. So let's get into the thing that kind of made them blow up, that kind of put them on everybody's radar, and that is the purity ring video.
Sarah, will you wear this ring as a sign and a promise to God and to me to remain pure until the day you're married?
That whole purity ring video started with Teresa, actually. She had the idea because she had a friend who had a purity ring, and I didn't even know they existed really until she told me about it, because Sarah had just come out of a like bad situation, had a ton of boyfriends, not a ton, but you had a few boyfriends, and she's a beautiful girl.
They
So,
all wanted me for the wrong thing.
you know, and they tried peer pressure and all that, and she was really kind of frustrated with her. She had made that choice to wait until marriage, but she didn't feel like she could, not that she couldn't keep it, but she could, I don't know, you can explain it better.
It was like I felt like eventually that the like I don't really know how to explain it either. It's
Like
just
the
I was
pressure might get to her.
yeah,
you
the
know?
pressure might get to me. I was just very frustrated that, there was these people that didn't want me for me. They wanted me for something that I wasn't willing to give.
And honestly, she talked to me and Teresa both about it. She's always been open with us. Of course, she had a few years there where she was kind of trying to hide stuff and
Yeah.
whatnot. But she talked to us about it, and I wanted to do something that would help her. So when Teresa told me about the purity rings, I decided, okay, well, let's get her one.
And I do also find it like a little weird, and it could just be my trauma talking, because I know a lot of people that I have been friends with in the past who had great relationships with their parents. They did not face any sort of abuse that I'm aware of. They had always been able to be open with their parents, even as teenagers, about their sex life and safe sex, and their parents were able to help them navigate safe sex. So it's like, I don't want to be like, oh, it's kind of weird talking to your dad about this just because it's this dynamic. And also just because the topic is, I don't want to do that, and you have now parents supporting not wanting to do it, versus whenever you have parents supporting a child's choice to do it and providing safer options. That's the part where it's like, I feel like it's kind of unfair for them to like people to like nitpick them about, because so far what I'm seeing is a dad and a daughter in a family situation where they're having these open conversations about sex and safe sex and what sex looks like, except she is making the choice of, I don't want to have sex until I'm married. I don't want to have these interactions until I'm married. But my question is, where did that desire come from? Is that desire probably stemming from the shame that purity culture and the church brings to these family situations, going back to how she said she was saved at 8 years old, and that is my problem. And things get worse the more we listen. So let's continue listening. But I do just want to point out that I don't think that it's fair to shame families and parents who support their children's right to choose not to have sex. And if their child is like completely against it for themselves, I don't think that that immediately screams, oh, weird, toxic purity culture relationship. Just like I don't think a parent who is helping their child navigate what safe sex looks like is a bad, neglectful parent who wants their child to just go out and have sex with a bunch of people and have all of these experiences. I think that it's very nuanced, but this situation absolutely gets worse. So let's continue listening.
She made the suggestion that I do it like a proposal, kind of make her feel really special. It was nothing more than that. Now,
Right.
yes, I recorded it. I actually recorded the intro after the actual video because I didn't really want to post it. But Sarah, after she got her ring, said, we got to post this because we had a Christian TikTok. We figured they'd get a kick out of it. It'd be something fun. It's something unique, something cool.
Yeah.
It was never anything more than that. And when I gave it to her, I just wanted her to make her feel special. Like I was on her side.
But that's weird. That is weird to present a purity ring to your child like a proposal and making it all special, when quite literally the purity ring just represents her choice and not having any sort of sexual relations until she's married. Just like it would be really weird if a parent presented birth control or condoms or an educating book on STDs or whatever, and like threw a big party about it and made it this big weird ordeal, instead of just being matter of fact about it and treating it like a normal human choice and just talking about it normally. That's the weird part. Because like if a parent did that, if a parent presented a box of condoms to their child and like got down on their knee and was like, here you go, have fun, the entire internet also would be freaking out about that. So it's not like it's just you, dude. It's not because it's a purity ring. It's the way that you are handling it, the way that you are talking about it is completely exposing all of the inner intentions and inner workings, even if you are outwardly constantly denying them.
Her and support her choice and make her feel like she's got backup in her corner and she's not alone. So that's kind of why I said that. And like I said, as far as I was concerned, it was to make her feel special and to give her something that she can say, yeah, okay, I know I'm supported. I know that I can do this. Give her the strength to stick to her values and her traditions. And it was nothing more than that.
But are they her values and her traditions, or are they just values and traditions that you have instilled in her? Because my biggest question with all of this is, let's talk about the whole, this is your promise to God and to me. Making your child promise to you whether they will or will not engage in sexual relations is weird. It's weird, and it absolutely implies that it has something to do with you and that you, in some level, need to be involved in the sex life of your child. That is what that implies. That you have some sort of say-so on if, when, and who they engage in these activities with. And my other question is this: what if she decides to break that promise? How is it supportive of you if she decides, I actually don't want to wait, I've changed my mind? What are you going to say? Oh, but you made a promise to me. Oh, but you made a promise to God, instead of just letting her live. That's why if you're gonna do this, if this is something that your child wants a purity ring, and you want to be a supportive parent, cool. Like, get them a purity ring, make it fun, like let them pick it out, like whatever, do your thing. But like, just give it to them like it's a piece of jewelry. Like, plenty of people throughout my childhood had given me like grief rocks, and they didn't present it in a way that's like, promise me when you're sad you'll rub this rock and then feel guilty if you don't use this rock and you like slip up or something. Like, I've struggled with self-harm in my life. Yeah, I have. And grief rocks definitely was a cool reminder to be able to look at and be like, I can just like rub this silly little rock. But I never felt guilt and shame, and like I personally let that person who gave me the rock down if I did have a relapse. The same way, it's like, okay, so if she does decide to change her mind, is she now just going to feel guilt and shame because she's letting God down, because she's letting you down, because you had your daughter promise to you that she will remain pure? Again, it's like, what's coming out of your mouth is not the same thing as what is very clearly in your heart. And it's like, I don't know if they're just trying to like lie to us, or if they genuinely like believe that what they're saying makes sense and they're just like deeply in denial themselves. But I have my own opinions on that, which we'll get into later, because the whole family is a little bit screwy, or I should say like has no screws at all holding things together. In my opinion, I'm not trying to be mean.
Different. I hadn't been online very much. I didn't realize how everybody can take the thing the wrong way, and I didn't realize it was going to be that big a deal. You know, I didn't it didn't dawn on me. I thought that everybody would see it for something cute and cool that I did for my daughter. I didn't know anybody was going to look at it and say, "Oh my God."
That's weird.
Yeah, so the backlash from that really kind of took me by surprise, and that's why we deleted our old channel at the time, because we were getting 600 comments a day, and it was just too much to keep up with. I'm like, wait a second, hold on, this is out of control.
I don't know, wouldn't that drive you to like maybe look inward a little bit and maybe like start questioning your own beliefs and values and traditions, instead of like running away from it and hiding it and trying to delete it and act like it didn't happen and making excuses for it and trying to like over defend and over justify something that you thought was fine. You saw no problem in doing it and filming it and editing it and posting it. In fact, you even said that you thought that your little Christian community would have your back and be like, wow, this is so cool. Like, what a cute little dad and daughter video. And when that didn't happen, for some reason, you're still not asking yourself, maybe am I the problem? Maybe are the beliefs and values and traditions that I've been holding and continuing with my own children, maybe is that the problem? Am I possibly continuing some sort of toxic cycle, some sort of harmful cycle? No, let's not do that. Let's just be a victim, right, in this whole situation. Instead of like hearing people's legitimate concerns and looking inward, let's just run from it. No accountability. Accountability is for losers, apparently.
So, like I said, I didn't see anything wrong with it. And then once it was posted and once they got a hold of it, there's no coming back. You know, you can't just take it back. So it's like I'm trying to move on from it, and it just keeps coming back and bite me in the butt.
You're not trying to move on from it. You're trying to run from it and act like it didn't happen. Again, like look inward. Maybe take the video and your entire family to a therapist's office and tell the therapist exactly what you just said. Look at this video. This is why we did it. This is where it came from. These were the intentions, and this is what everybody is saying. And just listen to what the therapist says. And also, maybe don't go to a Christian therapist that's just going to have a bias that agrees with you. Maybe go to, like, I don't know, a therapist that specializes in religion and deconstructing religion and purity, things like that. I think that might be really helpful if you're having trouble looking inward on your own.
I put this in my questions, but do you see yourself in any way as filling a spousal role until marriage, even if it's not, sexual, obviously? What to respond to these critics, what would you say?
Honestly, the only role I have that could be considered a spousal role is that I am trying to show my daughter through my actions, through how I treat her, to what she needs to look for in a man that she eventually does want to marry. Okay? That's my job as her father. I'm supposed to be the person that she sees when she's looking for a man, not in a sexualized way, of course. Obviously, that should go without saying. It doesn't nowadays, but it should. But in a way that I want to show her how a man should treat her, so she doesn't find somebody that is abusive or, it's hard for a lot of women to get out of abusive relationships because they don't feel like they can get out of it. They love that person. I want her to know that that's not right. That the way she should be treated like a princess. I treat her like my princess.
My name means princess, so that's how I should be treated.
Be so for real. You do not have to be all touchy, cuddly, feely, and involved in your daughter's sex life to show her what a non-abusive man looks like. Which, mind you, as you're watching this, literally, I don't think Sarah's hand leaves her father's body at all. I think that literally during this entire interview, she at least has like one finger touching him the entire time. And again, I'm not saying that being like affectionate with your family is a red flag. I'm not saying that like hugging and even like cuddling with your dad or like your mom or whatever is like necessarily a red flag. But it's like, I don't know. I've never seen in my whole life family this close without there being some sort of weird things going on behind the scenes. And again, it could just be my own trauma, but I was this cuddly and touchy with my stepdad. I was literally in his lap all the time. I was constantly hugging him. I was on top of him all the time. We were wrestling. He would like elbow me and we would go back and forth together. Like just touching each other constantly in some sort of way. He would even kiss me and say that I kissed just like my mom. Like all of these behaviors in my mind were normal. And if somebody had something negative to say about it, in my mind, I'm like, okay, so you're just not as close with your dad as I am with mine. Sucks for you, but I'm not going to be offended or take what you're saying to heart because you just don't understand our relationship and how close we are. And I think like what scares me the most when I watch this interview and when I see them talking about the hate that they get and stuff is it's like I try so hard not to like project my own trauma. I'm really trying, but it's like I see so much of myself in Sarah if I didn't get out of that house when I did. Like if that moment before I reported, I really started if I hadn't really started thinking to myself, I don't know about this, actually. I don't know about this. If I would have just like kept stuffing that feeling down, more likely than not, by the time I was the age that I am right now, I probably would have been completely brainwashed, completely wrapped around his finger, just like he wanted me to be, and probably defending it, if I'm being completely honest, because that is how trauma bonds work. That is how like Stockholm syndrome works. Like that is how grooming and manipulation works. And it scares me because I feel like I see all of that in this relationship, and just the way she cannot take her hands off of him. It's so hard to watch, especially like knowing all of the controversy and everything, but specifically the way he's trying to like evade the whole I guess confrontation of, are you playing like a spousal role to your daughter by being so affectionate? And he tries to evade that by being like, no, if anything, I'm playing a spousal role by like being a good example for her. How does touching on your kid all the time and making your kid feel like it's okay to have absolutely no boundaries touching you and blah, 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 blah. How is that setting a good example? How is making your child promise to you and God to save herself for marriage setting a non-abusive example? If anything, you are setting an example of complete control and submission to whoever is viewed as like the man of the house. And that's my full opinion.
Or look, we're not rage baiting. Definitely not. Okay. We are this close, period. She is completely comfortable with me. I'm completely comfortable with her. We're completely comfortable with all of our family.
I'm sorry, aren't your brothers sex offenders?
One of our viral dance videos, she ran into my arms, I picked her up. And people see it as, well, you don't hold your father that way. It's your boyfriend. It's this. We don't believe that. We don't believe there's a certain way to hug somebody different from it. It doesn't matter as long as you're comfortable.
It does though. It does matter, even if both of you are comfortable, because look at the dynamic here. You're the father, she's the daughter. She grew up believing that this is normal, so of course she's going to be comfortable. There is a difference in the way that you hug somebody that you're being intimate with sexually and somebody that you are intimate with familially, family-wise. That's what I'm going to say, family-wise. There is difference in intimacies between somebody you potentially could have a sexual relationship with and somebody who is your family. Yes, there is intimacy with both relationships, but that intimacy absolutely should look different, and it should be clearly different to a passerby. There should be no questions asked. There should be no confusion. It should just be clear that, oh, like that's just a dad giving his daughter a hug. By the way you hug her, or by the way you hug your son or your mom or whatever it is, versus the way you hug your husband or the way you hug your girlfriend or your partner of any kind. It doesn't matter. There is a difference. There should be a difference, and it matters. And it doesn't matter that both people are comfortable, because oftentimes we see that the person with the underhand, like the lesser power in the dynamic, never really had a choice to form their own opinion to begin with, honestly.
It doesn't matter as long as you're comfortable. And if we're comfortable, why should anybody else be uncomfortable? And that's kind of the place we were coming from. We're not trying to rage bait, but at this point, I kind of felt like if when they started commenting that, if I backed off, it would look like I was pandering to the trolls and the haters, and I didn't want to show that, so we just kept going and kept ignoring it.
Yeah.
And it's not affecting us. It's like, we know who we are. We don't need anybody else to validate us.
So maybe reevaluate yourself. And guys, this is the most frustrating part of these conversations, is that if what we are seeing is all that has happened and all that is happening, there's nothing illegal about it. There is no crime. So it's like, genuinely, if they want to just keep on living this way, they can. And that's the frustrating part, is because it's like, when you have an adult child who grew up experiencing this kind of love and being raised this way and thinking that this is normal, that this is acceptable and that everybody else just doesn't understand, they're more likely than not, the older they get, not going to break out of that like mental state, that trauma bond. And if they do, then what? Who will they have? What family are they going to turn to? Because they've already built their community and foundation on this. And that's a scary thought to think of, starting completely over, being completely on your own, which is something that I see Sarah struggling with a lot, which we'll get into later, because she's got like attached at the hip to, I'll say her family, but specifically her dad. And I don't really like the idea of just like believing in group thinking and just because the majority says one thing makes it true. But in situations like this, I do. Like, if everybody is telling you, hey, this looks a little bit weird and we're a little bit concerned, and also how is this going to affect her dating life and her married life, because she has stated that she would like to get married, that's concerning. Maybe it's time to reevaluate, instead of just saying, oh, that's not going to be a problem. Oh, it's not a problem. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, maybe look inward a little bit, but also it's frustrating because it's like there is no accountability to be had to like make people like this look inward. So it's like kind of just like speaking out into the void, especially whenever they've said that they're not going to listen because they know themselves and they know their relationship and blah, blah, blah. The same things that we hear all the time, because as a survivor, I heard it in my own family.
What boundaries do you guys have in your relationship?
Now, I said before in an earlier video, probably seen it, that there should be no boundaries in a family. People took that the wrong way. I'm not saying that there's not healthy boundaries. Okay, obviously there's certain things that there's boundaries, but there's really not any like major boundaries in our relationship because we trust each other.
What do you mean? There's not really any, like, what are the boundaries though? And what do you mean you trust each other? For what? I trusted my stepdad completely. And you know what I had to do? Delete pictures of his from his phone just to earn it. That doesn't make what happened normal. It doesn't make what happened okay or right. And it doesn't mean that I can just brush that off and be like, oh, well, you guys just don't understand. Me and my stepdad were really close. We didn't have any boundaries and I trusted him fully. So him making me do that was completely normal. It's not normal. It's not normal. In fact, what is normal is having boundaries within a familial relationship and a parent-child relationship. It is telling a child, hey, don't hug me like that. Hey, don't kiss me like that. Hey, don't touch my body like that. That's something preserved only for me and your mother, for me and your father, for me and whoever. That is not a child. Okay.
And we're completely comfortable with each other. She knows I would never do anything to hurt her or anything. I don't want to say sexual because but anything over the line.
But what is the line in this family? Where is the line? What is the line? Like, I mean, I have to know, because like, obviously we don't see everything that goes on off camera. And if they're already getting this much hate and stuff for what they're posting already, I can't imagine like how much more intimacy does occur within the home, not being filmed on camera. Because if they're already getting this much hate with how intimate they are together with what they post, you can only imagine what they're thinking, like the hate they'd get if they actually showed like all sides of their relationship. And I don't mean to draw conclusions and I don't mean to make assumptions. Again, I'm just speaking from my own personal experience. My stepdad would never full on kiss me the way he did at home in public. In fact, if I would try to like kiss him in public or like hug him like intimately in public or smack his butt in public, because that was something that happened all the time in my home. My stepdad and my brothers always smacked my butt. That was normal in our home. I would get in trouble because we couldn't do that out in public because people wouldn't understand, and then we could get in trouble. And I'm like, oh no, like what we're doing is not wrong though. So that made sense to me in my mind to keep some things private, because as a child I trusted that my dad was being honest when he said that nothing's wrong with what we're doing, just some people are really messed up and they'll see something wrong with what we're doing. And I believed that. I was completely brainwashed to believe that that was true. Like, yeah, what we're doing is normal. Like, F off. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's where my mind is going, is like, when you say that there's no boundaries and you're completely comfortable with each other because you would never hurt her and you would never touch her sexually, where my mind is at is like, but what does that mean to you? Because I know what that means to me, and I can assume what that probably means to the majority of you watching my video. But with what we've seen and the justifications and defensives that have been made, what is that to you? What is sexual touch to you? Is it kissing? And if it's kissing, how long of a kiss until it's sexual? What kind of a kiss until it's sexual? If it's hugging and cuddling, what kind of cuddling until it's sexual? Like, how long? Like, I have so many questions. Whereas, like, as a parent, I just wouldn't be all touchy cuddly with my kid like this. Like, I have children and I cuddle and snuggle with my children, but my kids don't just sit there and have their arm like wrapped around me all day. They try to because they're young, but I do implement those boundaries. And I'm like, look, this is my body. And just because I'm your mom does not mean that you can just come up to me and start touching my body and like grabbing me and things like that. Like, you do need to ask consent, and we do have these boundaries. And it is important to teach children that, because not only does it prevent like weird things from happening in your home, but it also prevents your child from crossing someone else's boundaries in public. Like, if you have no boundaries in your home and you're teaching your child that it's okay to live life without boundaries as long as you just trust each other and things like that, then who's to say that your child is not going to accidentally cross someone else's personal space and boundaries, say at school or at a park or their friend, because in their mind, as long as I trust you and we trust each other, it's okay to touch each other like this. Do we see where this is going, where I'm going with this? Okay, I think we can move on.
There's certain things like, sleeping together, stuff like that. That's a little bit too far.
It should.
A little bit too far? A little bit too far? So again, now I have questions. Do you guys sleep together? And what is too far when you're sleeping together? Do you have clothes on? Do you have full clothes on? Is it everybody in one bed? Is it just sometimes the dad and daughter sleeping together? Is it sometimes the daughter and mom? Is it mom, dad, and daughter? And then what about the son? You know, we don't really hear it. Did you know that they have a son? Maybe even a couple sons. I'm not sure, but I know that they have at least one. And you don't hear much about him, which to me is another glaring red flag. But, you know, what do I know?
People are always saying that a grown woman shouldn't be hugging her father like that. I don't believe there's an age limit on love.
Yes, you heard her say that right. Yes, you heard her say that right. And I know people are going to come at me and be like, oh, but you're taking this out of context because she was talking about with like loving your family. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, but the words. Okay, words matter because the words we speak become words that we believe. So if you're speaking to yourself out loud, there is no age limit on love. There is no age limit on love. That is opening up your mind literally to very bad possibilities and situations, especially when you're coming from a family where there is no boundaries and there is no limits. And goodness gracious, you guys, I just can't even believe this. I can't. But I can. But I also can because I lived it. And I guess my mind also wonders to like the question, like, is Sarah allowed to be this intimate and touchy-feely with a future partner? Like, as long as like the boundaries in your guys' family is like basically you guys aren't having sex with each other, that seems to be also the only boundary that maybe possibly Sarah would have with a partner, right? So like, would I have to ask, like, would the parents be on board with Sarah hanging on and hugging on a potential partner and having her arm wrapped around him and constantly being touchy and affectionate in that way with a partner? Because then what about the dad? Is dad going to start to get jealous because now he's not being hugged on and touched on? Or is dad going to say, hey, my part of supporting you and your promise to God and me with purity is, you know, to support you in staying pure. And as your father, you know, the person who's supposed to be guiding you and showing you the right kind of man to be with or whatever, I don't think that you should be with a guy who wants to be all touchy and stuff with you, because that means that he only wants one thing. Like in my mind, like that's where I'm going with it. You know what I mean? Just like with the dynamic that's happening. So would Sarah be allowed to be as affectionate with a partner as she is with her family? And if the answer is no, well, yeah, you know.
feel like with the criticism, people are just maybe misunderstanding based off of some of the content and living with your family, they're not seeing behind the scenes a little bit more?
Yeah, they're misunderstanding a lot. Like I'm not living with my family because they're forcing me to. I'm living with my family as long as humanly possible because let's be honest, in this economy, a young woman living by herself, it doesn't work. Like I work a full-time job, but I don't even make enough to pay for rent and food and gas and all the other stuff I need to survive. So it's just more logical to stay with my family.
Okay, Sarah, yes and no. First of all, no, it is not like impossible for a young single woman to make it out here in this economy. Is it extremely hard? Yeah, I can imagine so. Now, I can't relate because I am not a single woman living by myself in this economy, but I am a mother and I have a family and I know how expensive it is to run a household without support. So I also have a husband, by the way, and he's magnificent and he provides and supports and helps and everything. So shout out to my husband. Mwah. Love you. He is literally the best and he's so hot. That's just not true. So if you're a young woman and you're thinking about moving out on your own, maybe to get out of a toxic household, or just because you want independence, or you're in a bad situationship and relationship or whatever, you can do it. I want to tell you, you can do it. It's going to be really hard and you're probably not going to get this really nice, like 3-story townhouse as your first buy with like the fanciest furniture, but you can do it. You absolutely can do it. Do not let Sarah sit here and tell you that you can't and it's just better to stay where you are and just live at home for as long as possible until you magically have enough money to like buy all of your wants and needs and dreams and stuff like that, because that's just not true and it's probably not going to happen. But I do want to say, I'm not hating on people who do want to live at home for as long as possible. Like, if my kids want to stay with me until they're ready to like get married and move out, or like whatever they want to do, they want to go travel the world and then always come back and crash at my house like once a month, that's totally fine with me. Oh, there's a bug. Me and my husband have even talked about whenever we finally own our own home, like converting the basement, if we have a basement, if we don't have a basement, and then like buying like a nice big shed and actually like converting it into like a little apartment complex for if and when our kids are ready to have more of that independence and have that independent feel life. Like life, I don't know what I'm trying to say, before they're ready to make that leap. And like we've even thought about like already like things of like setting aside money to be able to like pay for their first year of rent, things like that. Like we want to set our kids up for success. So like I do not feel like there's anything wrong with living at home for as long as possible, as long as like you're able to and like it's a nice and healthy environment. I see nothing wrong with that. But if your only reasoning for doing that is because you genuinely believe that I can't make it in this life without the support of my parents, whether my parents be good or bad, or I can't make it in this life without that partner, whether they be good or bad or whatever it is, that is a lie. And you absolutely can. It doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but you absolutely can.
These people, they think you have to move out when you're 18. You have to get on your own to have your own life. I have my own life. I go out with friends. I have friends. A lot of people think I don't, but I have friends. I go out with my friends, not all the time. And people say that I don't because I don't show it on TikTok. But a lot of my friends don't want to be on our channel because they've seen half the stuff we go through and they don't want to be caught in that.
Just want to point out, I also did all of those things when I was experiencing grooming and sexual abuse in my home. I still went to my friends' houses basically every single weekend. I just didn't disclose anything because I didn't think that there was anything to disclose. There was nothing going on, so there was no reason to like not say anything. And I think that my parents knew that they had done such a good job of brainwashing me and manipulating me into believing that what was happening to me was okay because it was either just normal and okay and other people didn't understand, or it was my fault and something that I brought onto myself, that they knew like I'm not going to say anything to anybody. So like, why keep me away from my friends and things like that? Like what's the need? And plus then it got me out of their hair and they didn't have to deal with me for a weekend. So I guess win-win on everybody, but mainly them.
It is what it is. And the goal is to become full-time creators because we want to have more freedom in our life. I think that's what a lot of people want to be creators for. You know, you don't want to be a creator because it's no work. Sorry, it's
Because
definitely a lot of work. We
yeah,
discussed that earlier.
yeah.
Yeah.
If we want to go on vacation, we have to give 2 weeks notice to our boss. Whereas if we're full-time creators and we want to go on a vacation, we get in the car and go.
And we take our job with us.
Yeah.
You know, that's the goal. And yeah, we're making a good amount right now on the TikTok Creator Rewards program. I mean,
Right.
all these views that people are sending us is helping quite a bit.
Yeah.
But it's not something that's necessary.
But at what cost for this financial freedom? Like, I totally get the idea of financial freedom and things like that and being a creator. And that's why, like, I also say, like, I think that everybody has a story worth sharing. And I think that everybody could be a creator of some sorts. And I know that not everybody wants to be, and not everybody wants to put themselves out there like that. And that is totally fine. But there is something about you that the world needs, whether it be in the real world, like you're like my husband and you build amazing houses and do awesome renovations and things like that, or you're like me and you want to get online and do something in the digital world and create an impact there. But I think that every single person has something about them that is so magnificent and world changing. And it's on us to figure out what that skill is, what that ability is. And if you can monetize on that, yes, I think that you absolutely should. Honestly, call me crazy. I think in a perfect world, everybody should do what they are passionate about and be paid for it. Like let everybody live, let everybody pursue their passions and their dreams and get paid for it. The economy will still run. For everybody so scared about the economy, people will still be working all of the jobs. Like, it's gonna be fine. But I think everybody should do what they're passionate about and be paid for it. Call me too woke, I don't know. Except for rage baiters, except for people who make rage baity content to purposely be inflammatory and cause problems, and people like this who are posting harmful content, whether it's rage bait or not, and trying to monetize off of it. And I'm not saying that their content that they post, we'll get into some content later, AI content allegedly that they have posted that is actually just straight up harmful. But the dynamic that they are promoting and trying to normalize absolutely is harmful. It really is. Because even if nothing more, oh, my light just turned off, so ignore the light change. Even if nothing more is happening in this dynamic than just what we're seeing online, sitting here being like, oh, this is normal and there's nothing more going on, I get concerned for a young audience that may be watching this, and for children who may be experiencing abuse in their home that looks very similar to what they're seeing online, and then being reinforced not only in their home that it's okay and normal, but now look at this other family where it's also okay and normal to them. And that does scare me a little bit. And maybe I'm being a little bit too reading into it, but that's just where my mind goes.
Actually, kind of a little bit of a better situation for us because we'll be able to save a little bit more money in the long run.
And not only that, but like people are asking, well, why can't you just move to San Antonio yourself? But if I go to San Antonio, he stays here, that's the end of our channel.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but where's her support system?
Mhm.
She goes to a city knowing nobody and is expected to survive on her own, have her own place, and live on her own with no support system. That's what I'm here for, is to be her support system. I told her flat out when she was like 16, 17, I says, you are more than welcome to stay with us as long as you want. I'm never going to turn you away. I don't care if you go out, get married, have 10 kids, and you need to come back home and live with me. You're more than welcome. We'll find the room, because I'm never going to turn my child away, ever.
So what they're talking about here is the fact that Sarah wants to study to become a marine biologist, I believe, specifically like not a whale trainer, but like somebody who like cares for the whales and like gives them the enrichment that they need and things like that. So their goal is for Sarah to go to San Antonio and start working at this like place, I can't remember what it's called, like a SeaWorld kind of place, I guess. And then hopefully like work her way up to do what her dream is, and that's, working with the whales. But they're planning on moving their entire family to San Antonio, Texas. So uprooting mom, uprooting dad, and uprooting the brother. And that's like my biggest like thing with all of this is like, oh, nothing's going on. We all just love each other. But it seems to me Like, Sarah is the golden child, and not to say that they don't care about or they're mistreating their son, but they are, in the fact that they're not, it seems like they're not considering the son's future as well. Like, you're really going to uproot everybody from everything just for Sarah. And it's like, I love the support. I love the support. That's awesome. I love families like that are like me, and like, you know, you can rely on us forever. That's what we're here for. I had children because I want to be involved in your life. I had children because I want to see you thrive and succeed. And if I can have a part in that success and that thriving, then awesome. And I'm happy to be involved. Thank you for letting me be involved, and I'll do anything that I can to help make your life easier. That is literally what I'm here for. But what I wouldn't do is uproot my entire family and change my entire family's system and schedule just for one of my children in a circumstance like this. Like, obviously, if there's like a sickness or like something like that, and like we had to like change our family dynamic, that would absolutely happen. But if just because one of my kids wanted to go to school in London, I'm not going to make my entire family uproot their life from here to move to London just to be a physical support system, because the channel doesn't have to end just because Sarah moves to San Antonio. There are absolutely ways that they can still film content together and, you know, like handle the account together while not being physically together. Plus, there's such thing as traveling and visiting, and that makes those moments of seeing each other so much more special. I just feel really bad for the brother in this situation.
For both of you, when you look back at your content, do you look back and go, man, my views are different on this now, where we shouldn't have posted this? I know that you've talked a little bit about that with the music, you being like, maybe I don't post it, and then Sarah, you being like, yeah, I think we should, and then maybe, you know, the reaction to that made you rethink it. But is there anything that you've posted where now you look back on and go, yeah, I think I've changed my mind?
There have been occasions. The Purity Ring video was one. I did eventually take that entire account down because it was getting a lot of, like, it was a Christian channel and there was a lot of non-Christian stuff coming through. So I just, when we weren't posting there anymore anyway, so I just nixed the whole channel. And there has been content that, looking back, was not okay. I mean, there was one video we did a transition, and it was supposed to be from her bathrobe to regular clothes.
And of course, I was fully clothed under the bathrobe,
Right.
obviously.
But the transition I chose was to pull the bathrobe and then it pops and she's in her clothes.
Yeah.
That appeared wrong to a lot of people. And I saw that and I'm like, okay, maybe that wasn't right. Even though it was completely innocent.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with it. It just looked even worse than anything we posted since.
Yeah.
So we privated that video immediately, apologized for it, and that was that.
Yeah.
And I've done that a few times. I've made a mistake. I've posted something I probably shouldn't have posted.
Yeah.
And as soon as I realize it, I pull it down and I apologize.
Mhm.
And a lot of people, you know, don't like that I apologize or that I try and backtrack on some of this stuff. But honestly, what else am I going to do? Am I going to just ignore it, just private it, and then that never happened? No, I'm gonna say I'm gonna own up to my mistakes. Like I said before, I own up to my mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the content we're currently posting is a mistake. I don't.
So they can look inward a little bit. They can take some accountability, but still, instead of just acknowledging it and being like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have posted that, and then privating it and addressing it, maybe look inward and ask yourself why you didn't have or see a problem with making that kind of content with your adult daughter before you posted it. Maybe like actually really look inward and wonder and ask yourself, could this possibly have anything to do with the fact that I have sex offender brothers who I still keep in contact with? Because family is family, right? And you don't turn family away no matter what. Could that possibly have anything to do with the way that I treat my daughter? No? Okay.
Speaking of the Reddit page, and this is something that you guys are more than welcome to pass on again, but something that gets brought up a lot is the AI account that I'm sure you guys are aware of, that people have talked about. Do you guys feel comfortable talking about that at all? I don't have specific questions, just open-ended if you guys would like to respond.
Okay, I'm gonna go over this. She went over this on her video, but I'm gonna go over this as clear as I possibly can.
Okay.
Number one, that AI account is in no way connected to us, other than the fact that as you probably know, when you first post a video on TikTok, they at least push it out a little bit.
Yeah.
And Sarah saw that music video that the account posted, and she loved the song. So she decided to do a lip sync. And when she did, she also wanted to follow the account, follow Instagram, and find out if there's any new content posted.
Yeah.
Now, one of the biggest things they say that points to us is that Sarah liked one of her spicy posts.
Mhm.
No, we both liked that post, and it was a normal Christmas post. Yeah, she might not have been wearing the most amount of clothes.
One of the things people accuse me and Sarah of is Sarah liked a spicy post, and I want to clear the air on that. It was both of us who liked the same spicy post. Okay, enough joking around. So the background on the whole AI thing is that Sarah did a lip sync to an AI song, and then if you clicked on the sound, it was created by her with an AI account. And apparently once you go down the rabbit hole, it's like most definitely them. So they're obviously denying it. They're saying that it's not them, and I guess there's no way for us to like completely prove that it's them. But I will say I did go down that Reddit rabbit hole, and I have my suspicions that it definitely was them. But it got so weird that they actually created an OnlyFans for this AI model. And think about the dynamics here. It's not like, oh, the dad did this, and like that's already weird enough if anybody did that, and people do this, obviously. But they did it together. Like it was like a project for them together, like as a dad and daughter, allegedly making this AI OnlyFans explicit content account. And again, it's also weird as a dad and daughter to like the same spicy content. Let's call it what it is, the same pornographic content. Like, it's one thing if it's like you had an unfortunate circumstance where you found out you and your parent somehow like were into the same stuff. Oh my God. Okay, an unfortunate circumstance where that might happen, that's one thing. But like going out of like, you guys are both liking the same pornographic posts and then defending it and stuff and like trying to justify it, and then it comes out that you allegedly are making like pornographic AI together. The AI's name was I'm saying this wrong, guys, I'm so sorry. Ariella Brigman. Ariella Brigman was the AI account that is allegedly theirs that they deny. So
Yeah. What was it like watching all of this AI account drama go down and have, you're completely hands off. You're just watching people quickly delete and going, oh my God, you're making this worse. What is that like for you?
Just like when I first found about it, I was so shocked. I'm like, what the actual?
Yeah, right.
It's like,
It's
why?
certainly.
I'm wearing a purity ring. Why would I be doing that?
And this is the thing is I started watching this whole thing go down because we keep an eye on the Reddit page specifically because if they get out of hand, I need to be able to put the hammer down. Also, I need to know what they're trying to come up with, because there's been a lot of lies posted about us, and specifically Sarah, that I'd like to punch somebody for even
Me too.
saying. But the point is I keep abreast of the situation. But I'm just reading these posts going, are you actually kidding me right now? I can't catch a break. No matter what I do, something else is coming up that they're trying to pin on me. I can't catch a break.
Yeah. Is there anything else from the Reddit page that you guys want to address? I don't have anything else in mind, but that kind of, that AI account really is the last question that I have. So just open-ended, if there's anything you'd like to talk about.
The only thing that they consistently talk about on there is the fact that they seem to think like they don't just say, oh, I think she's being abused, or like I think that this is happening. They flat out say that I am being abused, like it's a fact. And I just want to say that it's not a fact. That is your opinion. And shut up, Sarah, don't say it.
And that is why I wanted to drive home so hard in the beginning of this video that everything that I've said is alleged and my personal opinions and thoughts, because we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, what has happened in Sarah's childhood. We don't know any of that. And all we do know is what we have seen and what they have said, and we are able to form our own opinions on those. And I don't think that, like, we need to be like going out and harassing and like bullying Sarah, because that's not going to do anything besides drive her further and further into her father's arms, right? Because that's her teddy bear, that's like her safety blanket and stuff like that. And I'm not even claiming to say that I know everything that's going on, but in my opinion, it's weird. It's very strange. And I'm definitely just so curious about the background more and what their relationship looked like in childhood, and also how this is going to play out if and when Sarah does get a partner. I know that she said that if somebody really loves her, then they won't have a problem with it anyway. But it's like, girl, like, if somebody really loves you, they're going to tell you hard truths. That is love. Love is hard truths. And coming from a former Christian, I'll throw a Bible verse at you. Iron sharpeneth iron, so as does the countenance of a friend, with something like that. It's something like that. Iron sharpens iron, right? And sharpening something, it sounds terrible and it's uncomfortable. And that's the same with the hard truths, girlfriend. I'm sorry that you're going through all of this, and I'm sorry that everything that you have believed is normal and acceptable and okay is now being questioned, and you're having to face these like hard questions and stuff and really look inward. And just know, dude, that you have a whole community waiting for you if and when you're ready to talk more about your experiences and maybe dive deeper into what your childhood was. But that is my opinion on the dad and daughter dream team. It has taken me so long to get everything together to film this video. I knew that this would be a long video. And I'm so thankful to the Unreligiously channel here on YouTube for doing this interview and putting it out. Because I think that it was done really well. It was done very unbiasedly. So I feel like she did a really great job giving them a comfortable and safe place to be able to just talk. And that's my opinions on it. I don't think that this is normal. It's definitely not a relationship that I would be comfortable with seeing with my husband and his daughters. And I just hope that Sarah realizes that people aren't against her, that we are for her. And we want to see her thrive and turn into a beautiful, confident woman that she can be, and realize that she doesn't have to be attached to her dad's neck 24/7 to feel confident and to achieve her greatest dreams. Like, girl, you got this. You can do it without them. You don't need no man, whether it's your dad or a different kind of man. Literally, you don't need men at all. Go chase your dreams of being a whale trainer in San Antonio by yourself, girlfriend. You got a whole world waiting for you out there. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you have anything that you want to say, let me know in the comments down below. And I will see you guys on the next one. I plan on this week today I plan on filming 2 more videos. I am going to be filming a Reddit Am I the Asshole, but like mom's edition, like kids talking about their moms edition. And then I am going to be filming a video with my husband talking about purity culture and his view on purity culture, having grown up in the church, and how purity culture affected him as a man. So really excited to film that one, and very thankful that you guys were here with me today. I can't talk. With me today. I just talked for like an hour and a half, so now I'm getting all twisted with my words. And yeah, go ahead and give me a follow or subscribe, whatever it is, ring the bell, like, comment, all of the things, and I will see you guys on the next one.